Education in America today looks different than it did just a couple of years ago.
Most of these children, there's no home there anymore.
Students' experiences and teachers' responsibilities have changed with the pandemic. This week, we show you where we stand.
The best thing you can do for the voter is give them as much information as possible.
How party politics could impact your local school board.
Please step up and advocate for our children.
And how pandemic life has made the achievement gap even wider. This is The Race. Welcome to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart. History lessons help students understand our world today through the stories of our past. But for some students, lessons can be hard to relate to if they're about events that took place decades ago or are taking place thousands of miles away. You won't find that problem at a school here in New York where what's being discussed in class hits very close to home.
Any questions on any of this stuff? All right, let me hand out the assignment that I want you guys to work on right now.
Today, a class with Elizabeth Donovan is as much about a lesson as it is real life.
So there are two questions.
It's so important for me, for the kids to understand what's going on, and they're also very passionate about it. A lot of them have family in Ukraine.
We're looking at the differences between before and after, so keep that in mind.
She grew up in a Ukrainian family. The day we were in her classroom, she learned some of her relatives safely escaped, but others have decided to stay.
My uncle, who's 78, decided to stay. So, which is, horrible. But every Ukrainian I speak to says, I understand him. And so I'm trying to understand that too, but he doesn't want to leave his home. He's 78 years old.
In this school, the stress of family in the face of war is now common.
I saw the Lord seated on a high and lofty throne.
This is St. George Academy, a small Catholic high school with many Ukrainian students.
Ukraine is all I've ever known.
This was 9th grader Marta Slava's first day at St. George. She escaped Ukraine just days ago.
I remember waking up in the morning to my mom shaking and crying because she was telling me to pack my bags and that we had to leave immediately because, Ukraine was being invaded.
She's one of 4 students now enrolled here who left the country since the Russian invasion started.
I feel so bad for classmates and friends who did not have an opportunity like me to leave Ukraine.
She's living with her grandmother as her mom is still in Europe, her father's still in Ukraine, and her older sister, she's still waiting to hear from.
She has 3 young children. She also tried to get out, but it was no use. I don't know where she is right now. I haven't got any information from her, and I don't know if she got out, and I don't know where the kids are.
Youth is beautiful, and I think this kind of stress gives our youth their first wrinkle.
Andrew Stasyuv is the school's principal.
The mornings are the toughest because you're waiting to hear. They're 7 hours ahead of us. So when we wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and it's like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in Ukraine, you already know who survived the night.
He has family still in Ukraine. So does Maxim Kosar. He said goodbye to his father and crossed the Polish border.
I was really worried because I spent all my life with him. Yeah.
The 16-year-old came to the U.S. to live with his mom. He messages with his dad multiple times a day, who he says often has to hide in a bomb shelter beneath their home.
When I see this, the siren wailing starts, I chat to him if he's okay because he goes to the underground in our home just to be safe.
Please be ready for tomorrow's quest.
For as unique as it is to have a school so closely tied to a war so geographically far away,
On the article on page 14 through 17.
the hope is what comes from these classrooms is a message the entire world can believe in.
I want them to understand how senseless this war is. I want them to understand that history, we can learn from history and from our mistakes, and that they are really the future, and the things that they do and the people that they elect and the choices that they make can make a world of difference.
Another major topic in education right now is how the pandemic has made the achievement gap even wider. We're talking about the disparities in academic performance between groups of students. One recent study found that since the pandemic began, students could be up to 9 months behind in math on average. The study found students of color could be up to 12 months behind. While those numbers may be upsetting, there are groups working to try and close that gap. Vanessa Mashanya shows us some of the ideas they have to make education more equitable.
In America, we say that everyone is created equal, but some say kids just aren't getting an equal shot.
That's terrible to be living in a country and to still be facing these type of barriers.
Ramon Garcia saw it growing up, and now he sees it through his daughter Amaya's eyes, the impacts of the achievement gap between school districts that have more and those that have less.
Most teachers, when a kid has an attitude or has like a problem, they automatically want to dismiss the kid. Kind of sad that I'm uncomfortable for asking you for help when you're supposed to be already helping me.
Depending on where you are, for a number of reasons, going to do poorer in school than your counterpart who may live 5 miles down the street from you.
Sabira Gordon is the executive director of CONCAN, an organization determined to close the achievement gap in Connecticut, a state with one of the largest gaps in the country.
When you hear about the education that's here in Connecticut, we hear about Yale and all these high institutes, prestigious institutes, but the reality is that those type of resources, that type of curriculum is not being given to all students.
Public schools in America are mostly funded by property taxes, meaning the amount of money a school has to spend is directly tied to the socioeconomic status of its students' families. Take the town of New Britain, an urban district with 84% students of color, versus the town of West Hartford, a wealthy suburb with 44% students of color. Both have a similar number of kids and are only 14 minutes apart. They even play each other in high school sports. But despite the fact that 75% of students in New Britain are on free or reduced lunch and are behind in academic performance, West Hartford spends $3,000 more per student every year.
You're going to score higher on standardized tests. You're going to end up having a better chance of going to college.
This is a complex problem that states like Kentucky, South Carolina, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others all across the country are actively working to fix. Unequal funding in education can impact a student's experience in many ways. It can mean bigger class sizes, fewer school social workers, and older textbooks. Another issue is teachers not representing the students they teach.
It's become a political issue, and people don't want to hear it. But in order to address the problem, we need to educate people about these disparities.
Elijah Anderson is a professor of sociology at Yale University, studying the impact of Americans of color in white spaces. He says that the stereotypes placed on students of color also contribute to the achievement gap.
It sets them up for this deficit of credibility. This is the burden that black kids run into, as they try to get an education.
They don't realize that there are different options. You can demand change.
CONCAN is working on changing the way schools are funded. Parents and students, like Ramon and Amaya, say they will continue to stand up against the gap and encourage everyone to use their voice.
No matter how old, how young, what grade, minority, we are the future of America.
I'm Vanessa Mashanya.
Something's changing in our country when it comes to school board elections.
I'm Joe St. George in Somerville, Tennessee. Should school board elections be partisan? Some say they already are, but some counties in our country are going a step further and labeling the candidates as Democrat or Republican. We look at the debate next.